Online students, please confirm that you can hear me and see me all right. Thank you. Hi friends. Let's shut our eyes for a few minutes. So friends, Akash, please pass it on. Yes. What did we discuss in the last class, beta?
We discussed about different perspectives of objectivity,
Yes.
like positive, anti-positive.
Just, yes. They can hear me. Can you please define objectivity?
Objectivity is a phenomena which is not affected by race, creed, color,
What is not affected by the race, creed, color? Sorry?
value preferences of the researcher will not be affected.
Will not affect, yes, you're right. Will not affect what?
Research.
The research. Absolutely correct. Thank you. And who gave this definition? Correct. We have to write it. We don't have to pronounce it after all. Pass it on. Robert Bierstedt. So, what is the view of positivists on the issue?
Positivists think that in order to solve any societal problem, scientific approach is necessary. Scientific method of it.
Yes. So, particularly on the issue of objectivity, they think, is it desirable? Is objectivity desirable according to positivists? Is it practically feasible to achieve it?
Yes.
And how can you achieve it? How can you achieve objectivity? How can you enhance objectivity? Later.
Data, collecting data.
Yes, you focus on the sanctity of the data. Absolutely. Please pass on. Then we discuss the views of,
Derek Phillips.
yes, who says,
Non-positivist. He says
name also before you do that, name two positivists.
Durkheim
Yes,
and Comte.
perfect. Yes.
Okay, so Derek Phillips, he said that research in sociology is bound to be affected by value and preferences. Objectivity is not possible in sociology.
Yes.
And value and practices affect every stage of research,
Yes.
from selection of topics and data allocation, sources, and everything.
Chaliye, very well articulated, and also your mic was working perfectly. So pass it on. Yes. Then we discuss the views of,
Reflexive sociologist,
namely,
Alvin Wardner.
correct. And what does he say?
He says that value and fact cannot be treated separately.
Correct.
And researchers should be open about his value and preferences.
Yes.
They should quote their values and their biases in the.
Absolutely. Pass on. Then we discussed about
The value preferences and value locality.
whose viewpoint?
Weber.
Weber. What does Weber say?
He said that once the topic for the research is selected, the rest of the research should not be contaminated by value preferences and by
What do you mean by value relevance?
Sir, value preference.
Value relevance, yes.
Sir, that the data which he is going to use in his research.
That data will be biased.
No, sir, he should not.
That should not be biased.
That should not be biased.
Is that value relevance? 9. Otherwise, you were pretty much on the mark, but this, what is value relevance, neighbor?
So the starting process
What?
of the research.
Which is what?
Value relevance.
Topic selection is value relevant, meaning what? That the researcher's value are relevant while selecting the topic. As simple as that. ठीक है. Thank you. Pass on. Then we discussed
We discussed about functionalist theory
functionalist theory.
and about thinkers.
No, I think before functionalism we also discussed critical researchers.
Critical sociology.
Yes. Name some. Don't look. Name some.
Lee Harvey, Carl Sagan.
Chalega. But in the exam, try to get the exact name right. So what do they say?
They said about society.
Don't look now.
Sociology should not be objective.
Okay. Should not be, are you saying? Yes. Huh.
It should be biased and value, not be value.
Okay, pass it on. You're right. Pass it on. Why do they say so?
Sir, because they wanted to favor the disprivileged section of the society.
Yes.
So the research should be in favor of not the wealthy ones, but the disprivileged section of society.
Thanks for reading it out. Chaliye, pass it on. Yes, what is functionalism?
Society is comprised of shared norms and values.
Thank you. Explain to me what are norms?
Norms that are given by society.
Okay.
It-
What given?
Everyone bound to do that rules.
Keep the mic a little far away from your mouth so that it will be clearer. Yes? What are
Norms are given by the society.
Okay.
So everyone bound to follow these rules.
They are the unwritten rules basically, no? The guidelines for our conduct in our everyday lives given by the society. Absolutely. So, pass it on. How do we come about to have shared norms and values? How do all the individual members develop a shared set of norms and values? By socialization? Yes. Fine. Thank you. Pass it on. And how does the society ensure that the individuals adhere? Through social control. Pass it on. What are some agencies of socialization?
Sir, there are two mechanisms of social control, which is to
But I am asking you about socialization. Not just here. In the actual exam also it is extremely important you understand the demand of the question and answer that. Not which you have prepared or, you have it already in your head some set template. So understand the demand of the question properly and answer that. So I asked you, what are the various agencies of socialization?
Sir, these are social institutions, for example, family, education system, politics, religious institutions.
All right. Good.
Peer groups.
Perfect. Pass on. So how is social control exerted? Tap the mic.
Positive social control and negative social control. And positive social control, we regard the person for the right thing, and negative
for the wrong things. Absolutely. Pass it on. Then, what else did we discuss?
We discussed that in functionalism, society is made up of different parts, which are social institutions, and each of it has a function or a role to fulfill, and they work like parts of an organism, or
Yes.
organism in harmony to maintain and for the maintenance and well-being of the society.
Absolutely. Pass on. Are the functions performed by a social institution exclusive to it? In other words, does one social institution alone perform certain functions?
Yes.
Or can a function be performed by several institutions or arrangements as well?
There are various social institutions that perform functions. Family performs certain functions.
I have a very pointed question, okay? Don't digress. Tell me, is a particular function confined to a particular social institution, or may it be performed by several institutions?
So they can be intellect.
They can be?
Intellect.
I'm not asking you that. Huh? Pass it on. Answer that question.
Sir, they are interlinked and interrelated.
I'm asking you, can one function be performed by several institutions,
Yes, sir.
or only one?
Sir, several institutions.
Give me an example.
Sir, family, socialization function is performed by family also and by government and religious institutions.
Absolutely. Very good. Good thinking. Pass it on. Then what did we discuss? ठीक है. Then you tell me what are the problems in conducting scientific research, in using the scientific method in sociological research. Quickly.
Labs are not there.
Sorry?
The labs are not there to perform social.
Yes. Continue.
Variables measurement.
Okay. You don't think that only yesterday's class you have to remember, right? You have to remember the whole of it. Yes, you're right. Continue. Revise more. Huh? Chalo, good. Then, that's it. So, wait. Any doubts, friends? So, one doubt is being asked. We are only referring to class notes and Sangwan till now, isn't it? When do we refer to the coaching material? So, the online students have been shared the material in PDF form. You can start referring to it. The classroom students do it once they get it, right? Which should be this week. I think you guys planted that question here. Very important question. One of you, I want you to take it up. What is the difference between functionalism and positivism? Please think and tell. Yes? Yes? Slow down and, yeah? Positivism is what? Absolutely correct. Very well articulated. So, the difference between functionalism and positivism is that functionalism is a theory. In other words, it's an explanation of social life. It is an interpretation of how society operates. And according to functionalists, social life is characterized by cooperation, harmony, consensus, integration, all those things. That is the functional view or explanation of social life. Positivism, on the other hand, is about the method that is to be adopted by the discipline for the study of society on that question. So these are on two different tangents. One is an explanation of social life, a particular one, which sees social life characterized by harmony, cooperation, etc. The other is what method is to be adopted by the discipline. Positivists contend that we have to use the scientific method in the study of society. Now, why this question arises in the first place? Because functionalists happen to be positivists. In other words, by and large, functionalists believe that the scientific method should be used in sociological research. But the scientific method is not exclusive to functionalists. As he very rightly pointed out, conflict theorists or Marxists, they also claim to be using the scientific method. So they are also positivist in that sense. But they are the very opposite of functionalism in terms of their view of society. According to conflict theorists like Marx, society is characterized by conflict and exploitation and oppression, not cooperation, harmony and integration. Are you with me? So positivism is about the method to be applied by the discipline or its scholars or researchers, while functionalism is a particular explanation, a very, by and large, very rosy and positive explanation of social life. Yeah? So that is that. Who said, yes, it's a question to you, brother, and only you, yes. Who said, treat social facts as things? The sentence you have typed is incorrect. It's not treat sociology as things. Treat social facts as things. Who said? Emile Durkheim, right? And with that statement, he was basically underlining the scientific nature of the discipline, that the sociological researchers' approach to the subject matter should be same as that of the physicist to his or her subject matter. Please revise individuals' behavior and interdependence. So in functionalism, we basically said that the behavior of the individual is very patterned, very predictable. Why? Because he is following the norms and values, as his conduct is as per the norms and values of the society. He has thoroughly internalized them through the process of socialization, and then you have various social control mechanisms which ensure that he cannot digress, right? So the behavior of the individual is very predictable, it is very patterned. Yeah. And we also, I'm being asked to reiterate the interdependence. We said the social institutions, they do not operate in isolation or in a vacuum, rather they are interconnected and interdependent. So a change in one, it implies a change in one will produce a corresponding change in the other linked institutions. Explain social control. So social control is social control. The various control mechanisms employed by the society to ensure that the individuals adhere to the shared norms, right? They could be positive in the sense through rewards, the individual's conformist behavior is reinforced. And they could be negative in the sense when an individual deviates from the accepted norms, then they are punished. Could be through formal mechanisms like the agency of the law or administration, or it could be, for example, homosexuality in India till recently was a crime, homosexual intercourse, right? So there the agency of the law could punish an erring individual because the social norm regarding sexual behavior is heterosexuality, right? Now that legal thing has gone, but one can still be punished by the society through ridicule, mocking, ostracism and the like. What are social facts? We will be discussing when we come to Durkheim. Difference between Renaissance and Enlightenment has been done to death. So I'll request you to take that up either in, one-on-one, because I see your message that please take my doubt, but I don't see your doubt. So please retype your doubt. Explain value consensus. There is a very broad agreement amongst the members of the society regarding what is desirable and what is not, what is important, what is not, what is worthwhile, what is not. That is a value consensus. The question that was asked by me was that whether social institutions perform their functions solely, or can multiple social institutions perform the same function. The answer is the latter. Several institutions can contribute to the performance of the same function. Like a very apt example was given, that the process of socialization is undertaken by several institutions, beginning from the family to schools and colleges to Labasna for IAS officers, right? So throughout our lives, we keep learning the ways of the society through the process of socialization. One question is, the conflict theorists believed in positivism but not in functionalism. Is it true? Yes or no? Yes, it is. The conflict theorists like Marx, they were positivists. They claimed that the scientific method should be applied to study society, but they were not in agreement with the functional view of society. We'll be discussing what conflict theory is as we proceed, but since it was asked. Explain Weber's value neutrality and value relevance. Very briefly, Weber's stance on objectivity is that the selection of the topic of research is bound to be value relevant. In other words, the researcher's own values and background do come into play at the time of selection of topic, simply because there are innumerable phenomena from which one or few have to be selected for research. So what his preferences, his interests are, they necessarily affect that. But once the topic of research has been selected, the subsequent process must be as value neutral as possible. Can it be 100% value neutral? No, but we should keep striving to be as value neutral as possible. One of the ways he suggests is that you do not play with data, or particularly ignore data which contradicts your own preconceived notions or viewpoint. All right? So that is that. Can we take a stand in the answer that sociology is a social science and not a natural science? Can we? Yes, we can. Clearly, it is not a natural science. What is non-positivism? Those who disagree with the positivist view that sociology can be studied using the scientific method, they are non-positivists. So, any doubts? In fact, let us take up some of the questions that were there in the weekly assignment. Yeah? Let us do that and then we proceed with the day's lecture. Remind me, let me take up other doubts apart from the week's assignment. I'll just take that up. Other doubts? Yes, there was, yes.
Sociology born in 19th century, grew in 20th century and matured in 21st century.
Okay. Any conceptual doubts, like apart from these questions, Yes. PYQ. Previous lecture. Difference between non-positivists and reflexive sociology. Reflexive sociology is also non-positivistic by and large, okay, because Goldner also considers that the scientific method, or the kind of objectivity that the natural sciences are characterized by we can't have. Okay? But Goldner's writings are particularly referred to as reflexive sociology, a branch or a thing of its own kind. Yes?
What these objective theory perspectives are in a serial manner, like first positivism comes, then
Serial as in chronological? No, not really.
so when Weber perspective came before anti-positivism or after that?
Before Weber, so chronology would be positivists, then Weber, then the non-positivists. Simply on a time scale, Weber was before this thing. Yes? But that is immaterial, very frankly. While writing an answer, the chronology is not of great consequence. The content is. And it would make, it would be more logically better arranged if you're first writing the positivist one, like we discussed, then the non-positivist, then Weber is kind of like a, middle approach on the question. Yes? See, Weber is like the big daddy of, the anti-positivists and non-positivists. So he is like the guy who opened up those vistas. All these are his children and grandchildren, as it were. Chaliye, let us take up the assignment questions. I'll not take up all of them perhaps, but some which may sound a little, whatever you have doubts with. So one which was particularly asked is, Europe was the first and only place where modernity emerged. Comment. What is your take? Is this statement correct? No, it is not. This statement is not entirely correct. You look at this statement in two parts. One claim it is making is Europe was the first place where modernity emerged. The second claim it is making, Europe was the only place where modernity emerged. The first question, Europe was the first place where modernity emerged. Is that correct? Yes, it is. And when you are writing about that, you will explain the circumstances, the events which led to the rise of modernity in Europe. Namely, vahi sab ghisa pita, French Revolution, Industrial Revolution, Enlightenment, Scientific Revolution, and the like. Right? That is about the emergence of modernity in Europe. Coming to the second part, which is Europe was the only place where modernity emerged. That is clearly historically incorrect. Europe, so modernity, though it emerged in Europe, it was not confined to it. Later on, it spread to various other parts of the world, several other societies across the Pacific. So, United States of America has emerged as a modern society. In fact, the whole of North America, Canada, everything. Australia is a modern society. In Asia, Japan is also a modern society. Also, apart from these, various other societies, including ours, are undergoing the process of modernization as we speak. So, we are also in the process of becoming a modern society. And when you write this, you can also add a caveat that the end result of the process of modernization is not the same in all societies. So the Indian version of modernity is somewhat different from the American experience of modernity. How that is different, we'll study in paper 2, and you can get stuff from there to here. But clearly we are not the same. Are you with me? For instance, we have undergone political modernization, adopting modern organizational forms like political parties, interest groups, pressure groups, these 5-yearly elections and so on. But our democratic politics continues to remain rooted in traditional identities like caste and religion and ethnicity. Yes or no? So our modernity, our political modernity, I'm just giving you an instance, is very different from the American version. Our secularism is quite different from the Western, French particularly, or broadly Western model of secularism. Yes or no? So in the West, there is a very clear and strict separation of church and state, or politics and religion. A very clear cut separation of the two. And in India, is it that religion is kept at an arm's length? No. We shower petals on kavadiyas. But then we also throw iftar parties. That is our version of secularism. In the West, religion has been relegated literally to the private sphere of life. So whatever you are, Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, whatever, whichever denomination, you do inside the four walls of your home. But the public sphere has literally been sanitized of religion. So there are societies like France where there is an active prohibition on the display of religious symbols, like wearing a turban. In India, can we even think on those lines? We literally wear our religiosity on our sleeves. It's very public display of religiosity. Yes or no? So point is that our experience of modernization has yielded very different results from the Western experience. So different societies, they have their own experiences, their own trajectories, right? Or differently impacted by the process of modernization. So this is how we will be attempting this question, right? Which other? Sociology is a young discipline that has very old roots. Always when you are attempting a question, try to identify the different parts that are implicit in it. Like the previous one, we could bifurcate it into two parts. The previous question. This question also is talking about two things. It's a single sentence, but talking about two things. A, it is saying sociology is a very young discipline. So literally half your answer should be talking about the youth, the Javani of sociology as a discipline. And why is sociology a young discipline? The very term was coined less than 200 years back. The first course was started as late as 1875 and so on and so forth. And what was the immediate context? French Revolution, Industrial Revolution and the like, right? Then you come to the next part. And it has very old roots. What are the old roots of sociology? The ancient Greek philosophers, and lawgivers in the East, yes or no, wrote thousands of years back, blah, blah, blah. Arthashastra, the Republic, if we know, whatever we know. So we'll talk about both these things. And the word immediately after is elaborate. Elaborate means you explain at length. So you don't have to contest this statement. You don't have to analyze it or challenge it or criticize it in any way. You have to elaborate. Simply whatever that statement says, you have to take it as a given. ये तो है ही है. Now you have to explain it at some length. Right? Third, it couldn't have been more straightforward. How is the emergence of sociology linked with the modernization of Europe? Quickly, tell me, what all we'll mention in it? Will we mention the French and Industrial Revolutions? Ancient Greek philosophers? Then what all? Later?
Happened, and the emergence of
Can we talk about the Renaissance or not? Yes or no? The question is, how is emergence of sociology linked with modernization of Europe? The answer is clearly yes. Modernization began with the Renaissance period. So Renaissance, Enlightenment, scientific, commercial revolutions, French and industrial, all of them kind of brought forth the modern society. So we make mention of all of that. I think the rest are quite, the rest are quite straightforward. And regarding answer writing in the sense, how do you sum out so much content within 150 words or other aspects, time management, etc. I'll be taking a detailed full class on that aspect. This was just to give you a hint of, how do you interpret these different questions. Anything? Yes? Where is it? Short note on the intellectual background for the emergence of sociology. We had discussed the various intellectual influences, all of those including the climate created by Renaissance. What we had discussed under intellectual influences was basically the Enlightenment era influences. Combine that with the Renaissance influence also. A Rousseau or a Adam Smith kind of people. Yes, you can. You don't explain their theories. Like I explained to you the social contract theory. So that you can understand the nature of the Enlightenment period. You simply mention in passing. Like Rousseau's social contract theory. You don't explain what social contract theory is. Because you have to adhere to a word limit. Where? Intellectual background. Yes, you can. In any question, in fact, on emergence of sociology, you can and should mention the early sociologists like Comte, Durkheim, Spencer, etc. Mentioning somewhere that these guys were, basically, therefore, these guys wrote, highlighting the problems or trying to understand the process of modernization. The more names you throw in, the merrier. Literally, as long as it makes sense and, but yeah, you should show off your knowledge of sociological names and scholars. One question that was asked was, how did sociology emerge in the 19th century? Please restate the question. Sorry, what in 20th century? Grows in 20th. And got matured in the 21st century. So yes, you will have to talk about various, broadly 3 eras. The early sociologists of the 19th century, so how they laid down the foundations for the new discipline, like Comte, Durkheim, Spencer, blah blah. Right? So these guys were particularly, as we proceed now, you will have a greater clarity or content for this also. But broadly, they help to identify the subject matter of the new discipline. For example, when Durkheim gives the concept of social facts, we'll discuss when we study him, but he is trying to carve out the unique subject matter of what sociologists will study. So they carved out a niche, a definitive subject matter for the new discipline, the early sociologists. They also laid down the methodology for its study, which was by and large, which method? Scientific method. They also demonstrated the application of the scientific method in the study of society. Like Durkheim's study of society. So he not only gives, a theoretical framework for studying society, he actually shows its application. Then the discipline grows, of course, in the 20th century with the contributions of a host of scholars, leading to the kind of, the discipline got divided into some clear camps. 2 big camps which we will be studying about is the functionalist camp and the Marxist camp. Further growth of the discipline during 20th century was due to which approach, or beginning from who? Weber. the interpretive sociology, focusing on social actions. Okay, or what we call micro sociology. All of those developments also contributed to the growth of the discipline. In the current century, the 21st, the discipline, it can be appropriately stated that the discipline has matured. Matured in the sense, it has moved beyond that, functional Marxist debate in many ways. It has also moved in a way beyond the positivist, anti-positivist debate. Literally all the bachkana jhagde that the sociologists used to have, they are now a thing of the past. Bickering and quarrel on methodology, on a too rosy a picture of society like the functionalist paint, or too conflict-ridden a picture of society as the Marxist paint. That is also a thing of the past. Now the 21st century is characterized by, for instance, the development of the postmodern perspective. It's not an opportune time to explain that. But there are certain such developments. Today, sociologists use a mix of different methods. No more do the positivists or those who apply the scientific method today, no more do they claim, this exclusive or holier than thou kind of an attitude. That only the scientific method, that is the most superior. Are you with me? So in that sense, the discipline has matured. And you will have to pardon me that a lot of things that are being mentioned right now, I don't have the bandwidth to explain them, like what is postmodernism, so on and so forth. We will be discussing them as we proceed in a more measured kind of a manner. I hope that addresses it to some extent. Chale? Yes, last.
Sir, in second question and seventh question.
Huh?
Sir, in both of them we have to write from the ancient Greek philosophy.
Second and seventh.
We have to trace it from ancient Greek, then Dark Ages, Renaissance, Enlightenment, all this.
You make it sound like such a drag, Dono mein wahi. So, the point is, yes, you will be mentioning both like the ancient philosophers and the recent developments in both. But the way you present it will be different. The same information, the way you present it will be different. So in the second question, sociology is a young discipline that has old roots. You literally divide your answer into two halves. Why is it said that sociology is a young discipline? You give a subheading, sociology as a young discipline, and talk about the recent developments. Going no more back than, say, late 18th century. There onwards, French Revolution and all. Okay, and then the other part, it has old roots. Then you talk about the ancient philosophers and all. Okay, so the way you structure that information, that will vary. What you write in the answer sheet should seem specifically meeting the demand of the question. Chaliye, moving ahead with your kind permission. There's also another question. Let me address it for everybody here. Give suggestions to make brief notes. Let us do that. How do we make brief notes? Right? A lot of you have shown me personally also. So how should one's brief notes that we talked about, the weekly summary that we are making, how should they look? The purpose is they should later on facilitate a very quick revision. They should not contain detailed explanations. They should contain only the keywords. For instance, if we are writing a short note on the problems on using scientific method in sociological research, my short note would look like problems in using scientific method. 1. Experimentation. Dash. Privacy. Ethical dilemma. Can't fit society in lab. Something like this. And instead of commas, I'll write in points form. Because, visually it is more kind of registers in the mind when you look at it, rather than a comma, comma kind of a sentence. Then, next I'll write, this was experimentation, then say measurement and this thing, quantification, dash, no standardized units. Finish. Third will be generalization, no universal laws. Fourth will be objectivity, then usme 4-5 dashes. Okay, positivist, in brackets, Comte, comma, Durkheim, bracket close, tick. Okay, objectivity is possible. So it's a tick mark. Then non-positivist, who was the guy? Decker. Derek Phillips. Yes, I confused the name. Derek Phillips, right? And what does he say? Not possible. Every stage. Values intervene. Like that. That is how your brief notes should be. Very brief, very easy on the eyes. So that once you look at them, things register. That is the thing. That was just in a manner of illustration. I hope that is clear. Chaliye. Moving on to, now let us analyze. We discussed functionalism in the last lecture. Let us now analyze. Are you kind of in agreement with the functional viewpoint? Are they right? Bluntly put, are the functionalists right or no? Why not? What is wrong? See, when we discuss this, we are basically trying to critically analyze the theory. So we have to pick holes in their argument. Okay? So it is too positive a view of society. One second. So one issue that we have discussed is, it is too positive, too rosy a picture of social life that the functionalists paint. They simply do not, they literally are closing their eyes to the various negative consequences of social arrangements. Yes or no? It's like sugar and spice and all things nice. That's what little girls are made of. Have you not heard this poem? Point is that these guys paint a very, very rosy and harmonious picture of social life. And consequently they end up ignoring or significantly downplaying the various negative consequences of social arrangements. So as critics would highlight, social life is also equally characterized by conflicts and violence, oppression and exploitation. Akash? Is anybody from staff here? No? Okay. So social life is also marred by conflict, violence, exploitation, oppression, of various sorts. But according to the functionalists, it is all about cooperation, harmony, interdependence, integration, consensus, all these, nice things. Which perspective would highlight the conflict that is prevalent? The Marxist or the conflict theorists, right? So you can always write, when you're criticizing the functional theory, you can always criticize it from the Marxist perspective. Marxist theory you can criticize from the functional perspective. So you can always say that Marxist theorists criticize functionalism for ignoring conflict and exploitation which is prevalent in society. Why would you say that? नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है. Why do you assume that? And then there can be always subsequent generations of this thing. Durkheim and Marx, the big daddies of the two, they were both writing in the 19th century or in early sociology years. Okay? And then there have been very die-hard kind of followers of both. So a later functionalist can always criticize the big daddy of Marxism or vice versa. So point is that these guys are overemphasizing, overplaying the conflict and are ignoring the value consensus, cooperation in social life. Okay? Social life is impossible without cooperation. That is how functionalists would criticize Marxists. The Marxists keep on harping only on the conflict. So point is, the functional theory is criticized for ignoring conflict, violence, oppression and exploitation, which are equally a feature of social life, as is consensus and cooperation. It literally takes a blind person to ignore the vast amounts. For example, what do you think inequality? What do you think of inequality in society? We have like filthy rich, like the Ambanis, and dirt poor, who are struggling to, kind of have 3 square meals a day. Is it good for society or bad? But functionalists, if you ask them, they'll say it's an awesome thing. It motivates people, we'll study later. If there would be no inequality, how will people get motivated? So they see everything with like rose-tinted glasses. You ask the poor, for them poverty is blatantly negative. Are you with me? You look at the caste system. How does it appear to you? Is it like exploitative or something, or is it otherwise? How do you see the caste system? So you uneducated sociologists, right, or untrained, you are novices, right, lay people, you can see the sheer arbitrariness and kind of negative consequences of the caste system. But these functionalists, how would they interpret? And they do, Indian functionalists. It's awesome, according to them. Why? It enables cooperation, division of labor between different social groups. So they literally shut their eyes to the negative consequences of various social arrangements. They say religion as highly functional. It unites us, promotes cooperation, gives us a shared morality. But is religion only a source of unity and a shared morality? Has religion, what is your layman understanding of human history tell you? Has religion been more a source of unity or divisiveness? So, sheer quantity of blood shed in the name of religion. Yes or no? far surpasses its positive effects, one could argue. Whether it is communal riots in our own society, frequently between different communities, Hindus and Sikhs and Hindus and Muslims and so on and so forth. Or it was the Crusades in medieval Europe. Human history is literally replete with any number of instances, historical records of blood being shed in the name of religion. But these guys see religion as a source of unity, cooperation, harmony, and integration. So it's a very naive kind of it's a very, childish kind of a explanation of social life. You don't write the word childish, but it's just using a simple term. It's an overly simplistic explanation of social life. Oversimplified. Another important criticism, you tell me any other criticisms of the functional theory you can think of.
A lot of shared norms and regulations lead to feeling of creativity amongst hindering change.
It hinders change, it is being argued, it kills creativity, or I think you're particularly referring to individuality. Huh? Yes, absolutely. That is more on the methodology front, so we'll keep that aside. Huh? Yes? Unstructured. So functionalists also consider that the individual is basically controlled by social forces. Absolutely. So please keep writing. So you're saying socialization is not that happy kind of a process it is made out to be, and willing, compliance. It is people, most of us would have loved to express our individuality had it not been the kind of compulsion that we have been subjected to. Absolutely. Functionalists assume value consensus in society. They assume there is value consensus in society. That is their starting premise, their starting assumption. Yes or no? Instead of proving it or investigating it, the functionalists begin with the assumption that there exists a value consensus in the society. The question is, how do you know? You, the great functionalist, how do you know that all members of the society are agreeing on the basics? In fact, what is frequently assumed to be a consensus amongst all the members regarding values? Whose values it is that are thrust upon or that are considered or assumed to be the values of the whole society? Whose values? Yes? The values of the dominant sections of the society. They are typically assumed to be the values of the whole society. Values of the dominant sections of the society are assumed to be the values of the whole society. For example, friends, if we take the case of Indian society, So functionalists would tend to argue that in Hindu society there is a value consensus on the sacredness of the cow. That gau hamari mata hai, and therefore beef must not be consumed. Now, is this a Hindu value? Is there a value consensus amongst the Hindus on the sacredness of the cow? Or, as critics would allege, it is a Brahmanical value imposed on the lower castes. For many Dalit castes, cow is a source of, or cow meat is a source of nourishment and employment. They do not treat the cow with the same sacredness as the upper caste Hindus. But functionalists would assume that these are Hindu values, what are really Brahmanical values. Are you with me? In fact, different social groups may have very differing values. The functional theory, friends, it emphasizes more on continuity or change. Continuity. Clearly, the emphasis of functional theory is on continuity. So, how is continuity maintained? We all agree on the basic things. We, in fact, not only agree on the basics, we also agree on the nitty-gritty, the norms. What one has to wear, how to speak, what to eat, and everything. So we are in perfect agreement according to the functionalists first. Then, how is it continued? How is it made a continuous feature of social life? The next generation is also taught the same things through socialization. Right? So the change aspect is somewhat de-emphasized. There is overemphasis on continuity, while the changing aspects of social life are not adequately captured in the functional perspective. Also appreciate, friends, are you with me on all this? I hope. Also appreciate, friends, the functionalists are accused of being status quoist. Status quoist meaning, helping preserve things as they are, preventing change, preventing reforms. Why do we say functionalists prevent reform or change? Because they highlight how everything is like near perfect. So when you say whether it is the caste system, inequality, family arrangements, if everything is working just fine, then there is really, that does away with the need for reforms. There is no need for reforms. So, functionalism is accused of discouraging reforms, being conservative and status quoist. Conservative again means that you don't want changes to take place. You want things to remain as they are. Status quo also means that only, that things remain as they are. For example, in legal disputes, the court may order status quo to be maintained. For example, there is a property in dispute between two parties. The court may say, okay, whoever has kabza will keep the kabza, and whoever has the property documents may keep the property documents. In effect, meaning status quo be maintained. I'm just explaining to you the meaning of status quo. Okay. So status quoist means that helping preserve things as they are, helping keep things as they are. That is what functionalism does. It discourages reforms. Sorry? Why they are considered as conservative and status quo is because they literally tend to justify all the existing arrangements in society. Whatever the existing arrangements are, the functionalists would highlight the positive consequences or the contributions made by that arrangement to the betterment of the society, to the well-being of the society. So if the caste system is contributing to the maintenance and well-being of the society, if the structured inequality of wealth is contributing to the benefit of the society, then there is no need to change it. Yes or no? So whose viewpoint do you think the functional theory mirrors or reflects? The privileged or the disprivileged? The privileged. Bluntly put, whatever the disprivileged say, the functionalists say almost the same things in some sociological jargon. In fancy academic terms, they literally end up justifying the prevailing inequalities and arrangements. For example, women, according to feminists, women have been caught in this, mother housewife role. Like this responsibility of mothering and maintaining the household has been entrusted exclusively to women, which has entrapped them. That is why they are unable to, kind of fight it out with the men. Now, functionalist scholars like Talcott Parsons, he justifies. He says, women perform this expressive role in the family. We all need emotional love and care, and that is what women provide. That is also what men would say. Yes or no? घर में एक औरत चाहिए ना for raising the children or to bear it when the tired and frustrated husband comes home. Right? This is literally exactly what Parsons would say in some sociological jargon. Functionalists like Davis and Moores, they justify social inequality, arguing that it is motivating. Yes or no? And what do these Ambanis and Tatas also tell you? Look at our wealth and get motivated. That is implicit in their advertisements, in their lifestyle being propagated and whatnot. And they give motivational speeches and whatnot. So point is that the viewpoint of the dominant sections of the society is literally reflected, restated in the writings of the functionalists. Who says the caste system is awesome? Apart from functionalists in the society. The upper caste, of course, would say that because they stand to benefit from the existing arrangement. Yes or no? Functionalists would also parrot the same argument. It is awesome. Bhaiya? Also appreciate, friends, functionalism is accused of teleology and tautology. Fancy words. Teleology and tautology. Teleology and tautology. What do these words mean? Teleology means what? Okay, before I get into teleology, you tell me. You understand function? We have reasonably explained it. you also understand the English word cause. Causes are the functions of a social institution also the causes for coming into existence, is my question. Are functions and causes same? In other words, can we say if the function of religion is to unite the members of the society, that is the function of religion, to promote social solidarity or unity, can we then say that religion emerged because society needed a mechanism to promote solidarity, or social solidarity and unity is also the cause for the emergence of religion? Can we put it this way? That is the problem, what functionalists tend to do, and this is called teleology. Confusing causes with functions is teleology. Assuming that the functions are also the causes. Okay? That is teleology, or confusing causes and functions, simply. I'll explain. I have not yet explained, so let me first explain and then let that be, please. We are not getting into that. Okay? Just coordinate with that with the staff before or after the class. Otherwise it disturbs the flow of the lecture. So, yeah, we were discussing teleology and tautology. Teleology means confusing, don't talk beta, confusing causes with functions, or assuming the functions to also be the causes. Please appreciate, friends, the two are conceptually different. Functions are what? Effects or consequences. They are the positive consequences of a social institution, the positive effects that a social arrangement has. Right? Causes, by definition, are prior to the coming into existence of an institution. Causes occur before something. After that thing has come into existence, then only its effects or positive consequences can be felt. Other words, the functions can be performed only after the coming into existence. Causes are prior to the coming into existence. So the sequence will be what? First the causative factors will come into play, or the causes will occur, then the social institution will come into existence, then it will perform its functions. Are you with me? So causes are necessarily historical. Causes are historical. I hope you are able to appreciate, guys. Causes will occur, then the social institution will come into existence because of those causes, and then it will be able to perform its functions or effects. Yes or no? So religion was able to perform its functions of promoting social unity only after coming into existence. The causes for the emergence of a particular religion, say Islam, say Christianity, they have to be investigated into the historical circumstances surrounding their birth. So what were the socio-political conditions at the time of, say, Prophet Muhammad, when Islam was established? That is where we can investigate the causative factors that led to the emergence of Islam. Are you with me? Functions are what? How Islam, or the role Islam is playing in uniting the Muslims today. That is its function. Causes are historical. They occurred prior to the emergence of that institution. Teleology is assuming the functions to also be the causes. That's like a weird argument, no? Because something is happening, you say, okay, this thing emerged so that this could happen. without any proof. So without any proof, many functionalists tend to assume that the functions are also the causes. Yes or no? Functionalism is also accused of tautology. That's another criticism. Tautology means what? Tautology means that, when you say something which does not add value, which is redundant, superfluous. When you are saying something which is not adding any value or not helping to explain, when you are doing that, that is called tautology. I'll give you some examples from English language. For example, if I say, I saw a beautiful damsel. Yeah? In this sentence, beautiful is redundant because damsel means a beautiful girl. Are you with me? Or if I say that I saw a beautiful sunset in the evening, or that Sri Lanka is an island surrounded by water. So that surrounded by water is obviously superfluous. It is not adding any information because when we say Sri Lanka is an island, that already contains that information. In functionalism also, friends, many scholars tend to explain certain situations in such a way which doesn't add, value or something that is redundant. Sometimes they give circular arguments. For example, if I were to explain to you poverty in the following way, that poverty exists in India because people do not have enough money to buy the basic necessities of life. Are you any wiser with that knowledge? Of course you are not. Are you with me? Because that is the very definition of poverty, that people don't have money to buy the basics. One gentleman, he explained the prevalence of witchcraft in tribal societies, primitive societies. He says witchcraft exists because it is functional. And how do we know it's functional? Because it exists. So it must be functional. Okay? So such kind of circular arguments or unnecessary elaboration of a concept, they are tautological. A simpler word would be illogical. Okay? But this particular kind of lack of logic we call tautology. Yes?
Sir, can we say that tautology is something presenting universal truth which is already known?
We don't say universal truths. But we say that, stating the obvious. Stating the obvious, and which doesn't add to our understanding of the phenomena. Yeah? Also, friends, another thing just to make it easier for you in your lives with sociology, if you are unable to grasp tautology and teleology, you can let it go. Really, reason being you don't expect a direct question from them. These are some of the many questions, the many points that we can write while criticizing functionalism. So if we are not comfortable with them, what can we do? Not write them and write the others. Okay? So take it easy in life. UPSC is not there to, grab you by the throats and, okay? Another criticism of functionalism is how it sees the individual. How does functionalism see the individual? As having a lot of agency and free will? A lot of initiative? No. According to functionalism, the individual is, basically almost entirely controlled by the society. The norms and values of the society are pumped into the individual, and he merely plays his part. So the individual is seen as a cultural dope. Dope meaning nashedi. Okay? Or somebody who is like high on drugs. So as if you are filled with culture and you are simply acting out your part. You are so intimately controlled by the culture. Who would argue that the individual is not like that? He has some agency, starting from Weber. Scholars started arguing that the individual has agency. He can decide a lot of things. He is not a robot whose all actions are determined solely and only by culture, by the society. Yes or no? So that is that. Chaliye, we are done with functionalism. Now we take a few minutes break. After which we begin with the first scholar. So we take a few minutes break. क्या? In the break itself, we'll continue with the break. A small announcement that tomorrow, please carry your Nitin Sangwans to the class, and we'll kind of go through together how to read it. Since a lot of you are having some sort of an issue with that, okay? So I'll just give you an overview of how to study Sangwan, okay? And I'll be using the second edition. So if you have that, preferably, you carry that, and we'll try to figure out together, just for a moment, okay, as an illustration. Online friends, please confirm that you can hear me and see me all right. Thank you. Welcome back. Now we begin with the first syllabus. Don't talk amongst yourselves, yeah? Please don't. We begin with the first syllabus thinker. Hold on. Otherwise, let us move forward in the agenda. I'll request you ask me like after the lecture. For sure. So let us now begin with the first thinker in our syllabus, Sri Emile Durkheim. He, of course, friends, is one of the early sociologists who began his academic career in which century? 19th century. His period was this. We are not asked the biography of the scholar ever in UPSC, but it helps you get a sense of the guy. That's why I'll be just sharing you some tidbits about him. Where is he from? France. Right? So he's a French sociologist and philosopher. And it is also noteworthy that a lot of those transformative changes that we spoke of, which led to the emergence of sociology, they took place in France. Very briefly about his background, the gentleman came from a Jewish family. He was Jewish. He was a Jew. Jews are the followers of Judaism, one of the main, in fact, the oldest of the Abrahamic religions. Yeah? From the womb of Judaism, Christianity emerged. In fact, his family, they were rabbis. Rabbis are Jewish priests. His father, grandfather, they were all rabbis. He came from a very long line of, like they're pundits basically. Rabbi, I think. Like we also have around Rabbi Shergil, that kind of a spelling. So though he came from a very religious family background, because of his own training, he was quite secular in his outlook. He studied which subject? No, he founded it. There was no sociology really that time. He studied philosophy. And he got his education from this college called ENS Normel, okay, which basically was established during the Enlightenment to kind of propagate Enlightenment values, rationality, scientific temper, and all those things. ENS. And though you won't write it ever, okay, I'm just giving you a background of the guy. Point is, friends, on the one hand, he came from this family of Jewish priests. On the other, his own outlook, because of his education, was quite secular. And that gets reflected in his writings on religion. He considers religion to be a very powerful and important social force. But he gives a very non-God kind of a explanation of religion. We'll discuss today itself. He became an advisor to the education minister. Okay, so he was a big shot. And he, of course, established the first department of sociology on European soil. In the University of Bordeaux, he did that. In which year? Yes? 18? Wrong. Yes, 1895. He also established a journal, a sociology journal, by the name Les Années Sociologiques. It's French. Which means the year in sociology, something like that. The journal, Les Années Sociologiques, L-E, and this is very rough. Okay, then A-N-N-E, Sociologue, L-O-G-I-Q-U-E, something like that. Les Années Sociologiques. Point is, friends, why we discuss all these things, that he was one of the founding fathers of modern sociology. He contributed immensely to the development of the discipline as an academic, as a distinct academic field. All right? In our syllabus, we have 4 topics mentioned under, and by orientation, his theoretical outlook was what? Before we proceed to the topics, he is a functionalist. Okay? He is as functionalist as they get, literally. Okay? So what will he say? Religion is what? Awesome. Yeah. Division of labor is what? Awesome. Okay. So we study 4 topics: religion and society. That's our UPSC socio syllabus. Division of labor. Suicide. And social facts. All right? Beginning with his views on religion. Before we discuss his views, I want to get a sense of the house. Forget sociology for a bit. How many of us are religious? Raise your hands. How many of us are not religious? How many of us, please, are atheistic or agnostic? Meaning we deny the existence of God or, question it vehemently. All right. So the religious amongst us win it hands down as far as the numbers go. So when you say you guys are religious, what do you mean as a layman? What is your understanding of what is religion? We'll discuss Durkheim's views in just a bit. But as a practicing and professedly religious person, what is religion to you as a layman? Yes, very briefly, It's a way of life, but your way of life is a lot of other things other than religion as well are a part of your way of life, I would say. Way of life, what is the term we use for way of life? Culture. And religion is a part of culture, an important part at that, but it's not the whole of culture. I hope you'll appreciate. So, for instance, the clothes that one wears, that's a part of one's culture, but it's not necessarily derived from or even influenced by religion. Yeah? Yes? Belief in? Okay, belief in God. Let us put it this way, because we are trying to explain what is religion. It is a belief in God. Very simply, beautifully, and kind of, aptly it captures the essence of religion. It is a belief in God. Yes?
Belief in existence of divine power.
Divine powers. So not necessarily perhaps this notion of God, but some sort of divine powers or entities, like jinns, or something. Yes? It provides me a moral ethos. Okay. Yes? Yes? ठीक है. So it's a positive energy. Very frankly, दिल को क्या मिलता है? सुकून. Yes or no? When we are perturbed and anxious about our careers and future, that is something we hang on to derive solace. Sorry? Sacred things. What is sacred? Don't try to be a Durkheim. What do you mean by sacred here? Pavitra. ठीक है. Fine. नहीं, that's perfectly legit. ठीक है. That's his understanding of sacred. Yes. What else? Brother? Reason behind rewards and punishments. So it's basically a system of rewards and punishments. That if you do this pap, this is the punishment you get. If you do this punya, this is how you will be rewarded. Yes? Very aptly put, though in Hindi, that there exists some supernatural entity, what we call God or Bhagwan, and in fact, this is the more, what do you call? And they are watching over us, literally. One second. Yeah, this is the more appropriate slide, I would say, for this thing. So there is some higher power who is watching over us, possibly also accounting for our actions or acts of omission and commission, all the good and bad that we do. He is sitting there, out there with a bahi khata or one of his deputies. ठीक है. What else is religion to you, friends?
Share the feelings.
Sorry?
Share the feelings.
Share the feelings? No, that's true. That sounds something very different, And I suspect we are thinking the same thing. Yes. Spiritual values and principles that we acquire. Sense of belongingness with society. Okay. Yes.
One's guiding light.
Guiding light. Bilkul. Margdarshan, literally. Path to, very importantly, this notion of salvation. In most religions or a lot of religions, whether it is some notion of salvation, heaven, afterlife, and the such related concepts. Brother? Your beliefs could be about so many other things, no? So it's not just about or not all beliefs are religious. So yes, thank you. Yes. Our sanskar is derived from religion, and how do you explain sanskar? Very well kind of taken from the image that a younger brother is literally at the feet of the elder brother. So that's a sanskar that we get from our Hindu religion, for instance. Is the air conditioning switched off completely? Did you guys conspire to? But won't we get all very suffocated? Huh? भैया एक तो एसी खोलिए. तो कम और बंद में फर्क होता है. एक एसी चला दीजिए प्लीज. हाँ, बहस मत कीजिए किन्हीं बच्चों से, आप बस चला दीजिए. ठीक है, हाँ. Come on, please, yeah, please. So point is, friends, this notion of religion may I have your attention, please? This notion of religion, as widely understood, is associated with some notion of God or supernatural. Very roughly defined, religion is, beliefs and practices related to supernatural kind of entities, which would include, say, gods, apsaras, jinnat, and the like. So, that is how we typically understand religion. However, Durkheim provided a very different understanding of religion, which was a sociological understanding, not a theological one. Theological means derived from religion. So our understanding of what religion is basically emanates from where? From religion. Religion teaches us there exists a God, right? And that we proceed on that assumption. You tell me, friends, did God create man or man create God? As a religious person, it feels uncomfortable to say the least. But from a sociological perspective, it is man who creates God. Let us see how Durkheim, now it will take me 5 minutes to start the slideshow. Give me a moment. But it's not showing here. One second. No, it's not showing here. It's showing me the wallpaper. One moment, please. Yes. So Durkheim writes or explains his theory of religion in his book titled The Elementary Forms of Religious Life. Elementary Forms of Religious Life. In which he gives this concept of sacred and profane. According to him, one very fundamental concept in his notion of religion is that of sacred. What is sacred? What do you think sacred is? Like one of us explained it as pavitra. Sorry, very old. Holy is like comes close to sacred. जिसको pressure नहीं, question नहीं किया जाता. That which cannot be questioned is sacred. Okay. See how Durkheim understands or explains sacred is as things which are set apart and forbidden. Please write Durkheim's definition of religion. According to Durkheim, religion is a unified system, according to Durkheim, religion is a unified system of beliefs and practices related to sacred things, not secret, sacred. Sacred things. We'll be completing this definition as we proceed. This is still incomplete, deliberately. Okay? So, point is, according to him, it is a system of beliefs and practices related to sacred things. You know, very interestingly, his concept of religion does not have the notion of God in it or the supernatural in it, but he uses the concept of sacred. He says in every society, its members divide their world into two categories. Sacred and profane. Profane. Members of a society divide their whole world into two categories, the sacred and the profane. Profane. N for Nagaland. Sacred is what? That which is set apart and forbidden. Those things which are set apart and forbidden, they are considered as sacred. What? There are two categories that members of a society divide their whole world into, the sacred and the profane. Everything in a society is either considered as sacred or as profane. Sacred means those things which are set apart and forbidden. Profane means, is that a good enough explanation? Yes, it is. It is Durkheim's way of explaining it as well. Profane is simply that which is not sacred. So all things, beings, phenomena, everything is either sacred or profane in every society. Whether it is plants or animals, objects, colors, clothes, everything can be classified into these two categories of sacred and profane. For example, in Hindu society, the cow is sacred. What do you mean by profane? If the sacred has certain holiness or sanctity associated, is the profane unholy? No, it is not. Profane is not evil. Please appreciate. Profane is not bad. Profane is that which is not sacred. When we say sacred, it means it is set apart and forbidden. Meaning what? That you cannot approach it in any which manner that you like, casually. There are detailed rules and regulations governing interaction with the sacred. Are you with me? Ordinary people ordinary members of the society, we cannot approach the sacred whichever way we like. There are detailed rules and regulations governing our interaction with the sacred. Profane, on the other hand, is ordinary, everyday things, mundane. Regarding interaction with which there are no detailed rules and regulations. You can approach them casually. For example, in your homes, there are several rooms. The temple inside your home, that is sacred or profane? Sacred. And the bedroom is profane. Yes or no? So when you enter the bedroom, are there any detailed rules and regulations? Can you just casually walk into the bedroom wearing shoes and then flung those shoes apart when you are tired from a long day's work and throw your clothes casually around and just rest? Yes or no? Yes, we can, assuming privacy. Yeah. Can you behave in the same casual manner in the temple premises? Why? There are detailed rules and regulations governing your interaction with that sacred space. It is set apart and forbidden. So how do you enter the temple? You will take off your footwear, matha teko, this, and then with folded hands you enter the temple. It is not a casual, flippant affair. Yes or no? And all things, beings, phenomena, everything that you see can be classified either as sacred or profane. Cow in Hindu society is sacred. And the donkey? Profane. So when you interact with the Gau Mata, how do you do it? With a certain degree of reverence. Take off of frequently, have you given like Gau grass? The food offering to the mother cow? How do you do it? You do it with certain rules and regulations. Yes or no? And with the donkey? Donkey kicks, you kick. Point is, there are no detailed rules and regulations governing interaction with the profane. It is ordinary. It doesn't mean the donkey is evil or even undesirable. It simply means the donkey is an ordinary beast of burden. Ganga Jal is sacred and tap water is profane. So when you are bathing in tap water, right, can you waste water casually? Let the tap, leave it open and maybe the water overflows? Will there be any strict punishments? It's quite the done thing, it's okay. But Ganga Jal, how do you interact with the Ganga Jal? Tell me, practicing Hindus, is it kept in a very different kind of a space in a separate white plastic container? Yes. And then when you take it, you take only a small offering. Yes or no? And then you do this, like this. Yes or no? Yes. So it is not a casual affair to deal with the sacred Ganga Jal for a practicing Hindu. Tulsi plant is sacred. And eucalyptus tree is profane. Bhagwa Rang is sacred. And brown color is profane. So everything that you see around you can either be classified as sacred or profane. I'm just giving you the examples from Hindu society, but similar classification of all things exist in all societies and cultures. The Om or the Satya is, and the McDonald's or Nike sign is profane. Are you with me? So you interact with the sacred there's a certain sanctity that is associated with the sacred. There are detailed rules and regulations, interdictions, prohibitions that are associated while interacting with the sacred. It cannot be approached with impunity. Impunity means, without consequences. Are you with me? And this distinction is central to Durkheim's theory of religion. He says it is a unified system of beliefs and practices related to the sacred things, yani those things which are set apart and forbidden. So what is Hinduism as a religion? It is those beliefs and practices related to all these sacred things. The temple space, the kaleva that you wear, the tilak that you put, bhagwa rang, Ganga Jal, the cow, the murtis. That is what is Hinduism. Yes or no? Whatever beliefs and practices related to those sacred things. That is Hinduism. Now, what is the nature of relationship between the sacred and the profane? Please write down. Forbidden matlab, you cannot very casually approach it. You are forbidden or prohibited from doing that. Okay, you ordinary folk. Us ordinary folk. Okay. Yes. Okay, is sacredness subjective or objective? Let me put it this way, that what is regarded as sacred varies or is same across societies? Varies from society to society. Simply the Om or the Satya is sacred for the Hindu. But is it also sacred for the Muslim or the Christian? The Holy Cross is a sacred symbol for the Christian. The crescent for the Muslim. No, we don't give tawajjuh to individuals as a discipline. We consider it to be a community phenomena or a society-wide phenomena. So in Hindu society, there are certain things which are considered as sacred. So all Hindus agree upon that. All Muslims agree upon what they regard as sacred, and so on and so forth. Right? Please write. Durkheim considers that sacred, or the sacred thing is that, which the profane should not touch and cannot touch with impunity. Impunity. Sacred thing is that which the profane cannot touch and should not touch and cannot touch with impunity. With impunity means without any consequences, casually. Okay? But with impunity means, with a free hand. Do what you like. That the profane cannot do. Now please write down the relationship between sacred and profane. or characteristics of sacred and profane. One, the sacred is always separated, and set apart from all other objects. Second, detailed rules and regulations. Detailed rules and regulations. Social practices are laid down. Detailing how the sacred is to be approached. Third, the sacred is protected and isolated through strong prohibitions and taboos. Strong prohibitions and taboos. Taboo is something which is very taboo. Something very strictly prohibited. Very strictly prohibited. Now, tell me friends, before we write further, what makes something sacred? I mean, why should I say, why is the cow sacred in Hindu society? What makes a particular animal, a particular bird, a particular piece of cloth, a particular color, a particular something as sacred? Turn by turn. Yes? The stories and mythology attached to it. Its functions. What functions? Its utility. What kind of functions or utility are we talking here? Why say the cow or Ganga Jal particularly sacred? Yeah? Because cow provides milk. Yes. Because, don't talk, yeah.
It's considered sacred because Kamdenu cow came out of the Samudra Manthan. So that's why.
So there's a certain mythology associated, that's fine. So that's what you're saying, it is due to the mythological background.
Yeah.
Why the cow? She is given one reasoning that it is the utility. So in the rural traditional society, cow was an important economic resource. Yes. So river Ganga was the source, was kind of the source of, fertility, drainage, all that, those things. Yes. Please write down. Now this is one particular line of thought that she expressed. It is the utility. That why do Hindus worship the cow? Because it is an immensely useful kind of an animal. Yes or no? Or like she explained for the Ganga. Durkheim writes categorically, likho pehle. It is not the utility of a thing which makes it sacred. It is not the utility of a thing which makes it sacred. So the cow is worshipped not because it is, an immensely useful animal or was a useful, an integral part of the rural economy. That is how we today explain a lot of our religious things. Yes or no? See, we do Havan because, it used to clean the air, scientific and all that. That's why the Hindus do Havan. A lot of things we try to explain it that way. Or we place the tilak here because there is, chakra system and all that. It's not the utility, the usefulness, the practical aspects which make something sacred. Why the cow? The buffalo was equally, yes or no? We never say bhaisa is this or that. We don't consider it sacred. Arguably, it has equally contributed to the milk production. So it is not the utility. Please appreciate frequently what is more useful, sacred or profane. Ganga Jal is more useful or the tap water? This phone is of very high utility. Yes or no? We can't live without it. This internet, everything, technology. But is it sacred? No. What is of greater utility? This shirt or kurta or this dhaga here? The clothing is of greater utility, but which is sacred? Dhaga bolte bhi nahi hai. ठीक है ना? It is that sacred. So, point is, it is not the utility of a thing which makes it sacred. Don't top it up. It is not the utility. Then what makes something sacred? Likho. Anything can be sacred. That's what Durkheim says. It's not of my choosing. Dash. A stone. A pebble. A color. A symbol. A plant. An animal. Literally anything can be sacred, friends. Simply there is no logic. So don't give us such reasoning that the cow is sacred because so and so and the Ganga is sacred because of its important utility for the economy or the society. Simply an agreement somehow emerged amongst the members of the society that for us Falana is sacred or XYZ is. We shouldn't even be talking in those terms about the sacred. We shouldn't be calling them Falana and all. Yeah. Yes. No. How is everything sacred? Anything can be sacred, but not everything, which is very different from everything is sacred. Few things, please appreciate, just to clarify, very few items are considered or regarded by a community or a society as sacred or set apart and forbidden. Most things are of everyday use. They are ordinary, mundane, or what Durkheim terms as profane, simply not sacred. Keep writing the characteristics of sacred and profane. So sacred is not, better than profane in terms of its utility. Please appreciate that. It is better in some other sense. Which sense? It is not more useful. There is no notion of God in Durkheim's concept of religion. Please write down. The sacred is not superior to the profane, is not superior to the profane in terms of its utility. The sacred is not superior to the profane in terms of its utility. Full stop. The sacred is infinitely superior to the profane. The sacred is infinitely superior to the profane in power and dignity. In power and dignity. So simply the two cannot be compared. Can you compare this ordinary shirt or kurta to this very sacred thread? No. There is simply no comparison. Power means that this can compel people, the sacred can compel people to comply. Thus, people or members of the society must follow whatever are the rules and regulations governing the sacred. The ordinary, the profane simply doesn't have that control over the members of the society. It may be of far greater utility. Fifth, please write. Fifth, tell me friends, before you write, are sacred and profane let me ask it this way, does a sacred object remain sacred forever in a given society? And does a profane object remain profane forever? No. The way question is framed, you are like, obviously the answer to it must be no. You substantiate your no with an example. Okay, they used to call it Baba. There was that prediction octopus, yes, I recollect. But it was in Europe or somewhere. Huh? They used to call it Baba. That is Z News or something. ठीक है. Yes. Don't talk, beta. Please. Huh. Yes, absolutely. Yes. It's a fashion statement. Huh?
No, nowadays
Women don't wear only. Not wearing it is a fashion statement. Huh?
Many women are not wearing.
Yes.
They are not considering it sacred.
Yes. Please appreciate that is what Durkheim also suggests. That, sacred things can become profane. I'll make you write. Okay? Profane things can become sacred. So there are these worlds which are sacred or profane. And the same thing may either belong to the world of the sacred or it may belong to the world of the profane. For example, have you bought laddus at the mithai shop? What are they? Sacred or profane? Profane. But when that same laddu takes the form of prasad in a temple, it becomes. So when it is purely laddu in the sweet shop, can you mistakenly drop it perhaps or whatever, leave a bit of it? But if it becomes prasad, how do you treat it? That is how you would. And can you drop it? Even if you drop it, you pick it up and put it to your matha and consume it. So you don't waste it. Why? Because then the same laddu becomes sacred. Yes or no? Can the sacred also become profane? That sounds like sacrilegious. Huh? How can the sacred become profane? Sorry?
Sir, in Hindu mythology, Indra was treated as a powerful god in ancient times, but in modern time it is like just a...
Let's talk within a not a historical this thing. Ganesh Chaturthi. So when we worship the idol of Lord Ganesh ji, dancing before him, he is, of course, sacred. After Visarjan, what becomes of it? Paint and plaster of Paris and this and that, which are profane elements. Are you with me? So, sacred things can become profane, profane things can become sacred. So, likho. According to Sri Durkheim, objects may make a passage from sacred to profane and profane to sacred through rituals. Through rituals. All right? I'm stuck. We don't have enough time to complete the topic. What do I do? Give me a moment. So we are not yet done with Durkheim's theory of religion. We will continue. Okay, we continue tomorrow. And please carry your Sangwans tomorrow, okay, for an illustration of how to read it. One second. Shivendra, you can't. Okay? It was only in a manner of speaking. Okay? You can't.